This week I decided to go for one final movie to end up the year. And by the way, yes, I am gonna make a top 10 best and worst movie of the year, so you gotta be patient to that because I had to go for one more, at least to finish off this quite interesting year. And what movie did I went to go? Well, none other than Wonder Woman 1984, which, before, let me tell you guys that probably some of you watch my vlog, you might know that I'm not the biggest fan of the DC Universe movie lineup, mostly because I always criticize that it has a terrible start. And I stick to that. Even though lately after the Justice League, the DC Universe movies are getting a little bit better and better. And makes me kind of wish that if only they didn't have that horrible start. Of all the DC Universe movies, many people say that Wonder Woman is a great film. I could debate saying that, yeah, probably during that time of the year, during that era of those crappy DC Universe movies, that was technically the better of the bunch. So I will kind of forgive it. Yeah, it is one of the better movies. But if you ask me which is the better of the one, even after that Wonder Woman movie, I'll say that, well, maybe Shazam. Shazam is one of the best ones. Don't get me wrong, I did like that Wonder Woman movie, except the third act. I mean, many people say that. And I'm not trying to go, copying someone. I'm just saying that I kind of agree that the third act felt kind of flat, and the villain didn't feel as, how can I say, as threatening as we wanted to see. But maybe my perception about Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, maybe it was mostly ruined because I actually blame it on Batman vs Superman, because if Wonder Woman wasn't in that movie, I would be fine. But now they kind of trying to shoehorn in too much. So much that people begin to think that now she is kind of like the icon of the DC Universe. And boy, that for the things that Warner Brothers they're doing, I mean, they really wanted to do it. So much that they actually decided to make this very controversial move, and within which every single movie lineup for 2021, they're gonna show it in both in movie theaters and streaming, which man, that many of the cinematographers are really not very happy about it. But still, I was still open-minded to go for it. Oh, and as a quick note, if you want to know what is my opinion about the Snyder cut of Justice League that is coming, I'm not very happy with it. You're basically just Frankensteining a movie instead of doing, a whole new thing. Phew, oh man, I'm getting allergic to Justice League. Which, again, is a shame because I'm a big fan of Batman. But right now I gotta talk about Wonder Woman 1984, which coincidentally that's the same year that I was born. I just saw it on the movie theaters because I support the movie theater industry. Don't worry. I was social distancing. I was actually the only person in the theater. And you might be wondering, do I like the movie compared to other people because I've been hearing other reviewers? Here's my personal take. I'm actually kind of in the middle ground of this movie. There are some things that I like because I was enjoying it. But I mostly enjoy it kind of more like an experience, since it's been a while since I've been to a good movie theater. But in a technical aspect, this is where the movie kind of falls flimsy. And if there are people who kind of like this movie, I understand it. And if there are people who really hated this film, I understand it. Because, man, when I gotta admit that I was kind of really liking this movie when I just came out from the movie theater, but then I just began to put the pieces together like I always do, because I'm not a person who remembers almost every single thing that I watch on the movie, and in order to be a little bit fair, I just try to review some of the bits and pieces that I saw, and the more I think about it, this movie doesn't work as well as it thought it wanted to be. Although there are some things that I did catch up while watching it. Also, it didn't help out that because of the whole DC Universe thing, I kind of barely remember the other movies. It's funny because some of the Marvel movies I remember a lot of the events that happened, but the DC movies I barely remembered it. I kind of even barely remember the first Wonder Woman movie, except that, yeah, it had Wonder Woman, it had that guy that she loved, and there's Ares, and apparently Wonder Woman, apart from being an Amazon, she's basically immortal. Well, what I'm saying, yeah, she is a demigod. She's basically the daughter of Zeus. But, and so technically this movie takes place decades after the first movie. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that this movie is kind of standalone without technically reminding you that, oh yeah, Justice League will happen. I remember Justice League. I remember Batman vs. Superman. Thank God they didn't mention anything like that. But here's the thing. It's now the 80s, 1984, like the title said. So, but let me tell you that the movie starts out with actually a pretty nice scene, which I actually like the scene in which we see Diane as a child participating in the Olympics, because he is a precocious daughter. And of course she loses because they didn't let her participate anymore on the contest because, well, she technically cheated. Which, I was thinking that this could lead to the theme of the movie, which is being honest and being truthful, and that when you lie to everyone and to yourself can hurt others. Well, it kind of does, but not much in what you think about it. But I now leave it like that just in case. And then we jump to the 80s, and suddenly this movie turns out into what was the superhero genre of the 80s, in which is Wonder Woman saving people, well, mostly women who are in danger. One was about to get to be run over by a car. A bride that got knocked off by three delinquent teenagers that were stealing sunglasses. And by the way, these kids, Wonder Woman doesn't even stop them. So don't worry, kids. It's okay to steal sunglasses from a guy, because Wonder Woman is gonna ignore it. She's not gonna stop them and say that, stop, you're stealing. You should not do that. Nice superhero. And then we jump to this heist, which, my God, that was kind of cartoonish, but in a way I was kind of loving it because of how lighthearted it was. But here's the funny thing: one of the two of the criminals, I had this weird thing in which, I don't know, I don't know why one of them kind of looked like Clint Eastwood. He went on the wrong side. But then there's this mustache guy who, I don't know why, but I swear that he looks like Casey Smallwood from Killer Raccoons to Dark Christmas in the Dark. Oh my God! You know what? Ever since I watched that movie, every time I'm gonna see mustache guy and I'm gonna think about that movie. The only thing that he was missing is that he wears an eye patch, because almost every villain in the Killer Raccoons had eye patches. But here's the thing: they steal some art. They were stealing some jewelry, and basically they send it to this bank. I don't understand most of it, but you know what? I'll go with the plot. Basically, in this movie, we introduced to Barbara Minerva, who played by Kristen Wiig. She basically is the character who later will turn out in one of Wonder Woman's nemesis, which is none other than Cheetah. In this case, we meet her kind of like the perfect blend of Selena Kyle from Batman Returns and Miss Pamela from Batman and Robin. I mean, imagine that. Catwoman from Batman Returns and Uma and Poison Ivy from Batman Returns. You blend them into this character, and that's what you get. I swear, she has the hair like Batman Returns, and she has the big glasses. She's awkward and clumsy as hell. It's like they took the bumbling sidekick and that happened. That's Kristen Wiig. I'm sorry that I'm kind of stuttering on this one, but it's how amazing that was. Amazingly stupid, at least in terms of movie watcher of this era. And basically she kind of befriends Diana, who, despite all these years, she's actually kind of grieving for her loved one from the first movie. Oh man, I'll go with that just in case. But in the meantime, we actually get to the real villain, who is this con artist played by Pedro Pascal, who he apparently he wants the power of a stone that is in the hands of Diana and Barbara, which is basically a stone that can grant wishes. Just in case, whenever there's a wish thing, there's always the monkey paw law, in which you can wish whatever you want, but it has big consequences. So because I don't want to, stretch this any longer, basically after certain events, this is what happens because of this magic stone that grants wishes. Diana accidentally wishes that she could have her lover back. She could see her lover back. Oh, I'll get to that, by the way. Then Barbara Minerva, because she admires Diana's strong-willed personality as well, because she is always shunned and always ignored by her peers and everything. And she kind of begins to wish she's going to be strong, agile, and intelligent, as beautiful as Diana. And of course, later, this guy played by Pedro Pascal, his name is Max Lord. Max Lord. He's for a second I almost call him Max Powers. So the thing is that this guy who is technically facing a bankruptcy on his company and everything, he somehow managed to know about the secret of this rock. He managed to get the rock, and he's like, I want to be the Dreamstone. That's what the rock is called. And basically this is where he starts out technically becoming the Wishmaster, in which he goes into other people saying that, I'm going to give you everything you want. Come on, tell me your wish. And I don't know why people are like, dude, chill out. They were like, I wish, for example, I'm gonna live in a farm. And then it gives them that, but there's kind of like a monkey paw thing. Which, Oh, which there is a whole thing that I want to talk about this guy, but I'll leave it to that when I get to it, because basically that's kind of like the plot of the story. Oh yeah, and at this point I do want to talk about the when Diana meets the meets his how can I say his love. What was his lover's name? The actor, Steve. Yeah, Chris Pine. The actor playing Chris Pine, who was also in the last movie. Here's kind of like the weird thing. The guy comes back, yes, but he technically takes over the body of some random guy. I don't know how it kind of happened, and it took me a while to notice. But at first it was like, how did it happen? And it was like, nope. What is happening? And you know why I didn't notice kind of like the difference? Because the random guy and Chris Pine, they kind of look really, really similar. I don't know if it's just me or it's because or it's because of the movie, and maybe it's me because I'm terrible at noticing people's faces. That is something that I gotta admit. But if that's the case, where did the soul of the other guy go? It's almost like he went non-existent. And by the way, this is something that I forgot to mention on my review of Soul, because one of the problems that it was on my head is that there was a scene in Soul in which basically two characters get into one of the body of our main character Joe, and Joe's soul, it gets into the body of a cat, and they were like, then what happened to the soul of the cat? Oh, the cat goes to the great beyond, and I was like, so basically you guys kill off a cat. So now that I think about what is happening in Wonder Woman, maybe that guy is also on his way to the great beyond. That's the biggest logic that I could think of. So then, and let me tell you, during the first, I think 45 minutes or an hour, if you say so, this is kind of like all build-up of all these three characters. And in some way, you also see Diana just trying to teach Steve, what was it? I think it was called Steve. The Chris Pine character. She is showing him about how's the world in 85, because the guy was a World War II guy. World War II guy. He died decades ago, and now he's kind of like a fish out of water in the 80s. Although, to the movie's credit, they don't go kind of like wacky and saying that, oh, or something like that, or he goes, run around kind of like a child, and then obstructing and disturbing every single people that he meets. Kind of like that. It only takes a while for all these plots come into fruition, and this is mostly because this Max Lord, now having the power of the stone, he's basically going around granting wishes of other people, but in turn is kind of ruining their lives, and at the same time is giving him more power. I think this guy should have been called Max Power. To be at least fair with the movie, because of the certain interesting aspect of the movie, I kind of barely felt that the movie felt too long. Although in my mind, I did feel that, yeah, you're dragging a little bit too long. So I've been hearing people that it is horribly paced, and I did notice that there are some moments in which for editing's sake or for time's sake, they didn't do too much kind of like a calculation of how much of a, like for example, between a time period that feels like kind of cut or something like that. And I do agree. There are a few moments that I feel that there are some scenes that are missing. And speaking of pacing, I do have to say that a lot of the scenes with Barbara, the woman that's gonna become Cheetah. Uh, it feels kind of unremarkable, I'll say. It's a character that felt kind of like a side character and only was given importance kind of almost during the climax of the film. It kind of has almost like the same problem as they did with Black Manta from Aquaman. That's the least. That's the best thing I could say. Even though I did like, you know, what they were trying to make. Kind of like a character who is a character who basically admires another character because this character is too nerdy or too unpretty, kind of like in movie nerdy standards, that now it become kind of like a stereotype. And then she basically basically asks her wish, and like the monkey paw, what happens is that she gradually is getting the powers of Wonder Woman little by little. But the thing is that this movie, I want to say that it wanted to feel a little bit safe because the movie barely has blood and the movie barely has, you know, stakes. No one dies on this film. And although there is one character that I did want it to die, but that I'll leave it a little bit too late to when the moment comes. Man, I've been saying that a lot during this review. But basically that's the thing that there is. What else there is I can talk about this? Oh yeah. I think it is time for me to talk about the Max Lord villain. Yeah, he's played by Pedro Pascal, and I already said that. But here's the thing: the way he was dressed and all this thing, I thought that he was Harvey Dent from Batman from the Dark Knight Returns. But he wasn't. He wasn't. I don't know why I had that vibe. I had the vibe that he's kind of like Harvey Dent. But here's the thing. If there's one thing that made this movie kind of laughable, it's him. I don't know. The way he acted, he went to overacting overdrive when he gets into evil mode. Boy, the way he acts like what will happen if Leonardo DiCaprio it became a villain from Wolf of Wall Street. And hilariously so. And if this guy was Harvey Dent, he was more like the Harvey Dent from Batman Forever. I'm keeping making Batman references on this one. Because the guy, either he acts so smug that has this shit-eating grin, saying that, hey, and then when he goes to acting overdrive, I got more power! Granted, he's not as bad acted or overacted like Ewan McGregor from the Harley Quinn movie, but it almost gets there. And there was no way that you could want to forgive this guy. But the movie somehow thinks that we want to have pity on him because he has a son. A son that doesn't look like his son. He doesn't... for a father and son relationship, they don't look alike. It doesn't feel like they're father and son. If that happens, at least let me see the mother, at least to know. And this son it has this cliche that is the overly cute son who believes in the goodness of his father, even though the father doesn't even treat him very well. And there was kind of like almost no reason to forgive this guy. But the kid is like, I wish for your kindness, Father. I want you, Father. Oh my God. You know what? I think it is time. Because I have to go there. It's time for the magical Wondered spoilers. Because I have to talk to you about, because more, about halfway through the movie, this is when things get a little bit crazy, because Max Lord technically becomes the Wishmaster. And Wonder Woman has to stop him because it's causing a lot of, it's causing a lot of crisis in the oil industry and the stock market industry, and then it goes out of hand. But of course, he later gets a dilemma, because there are two ways to. She finds out this apparently ancestral Mayan guy, who he probably comes up from an Evil Dead universe or some Raimi universe. This guy tells her that the stone is created by was from ancient times, and that it caused downfall of civilizations, and the only way to undo everything, there are two ways. One, destroy the source, and he's the source. And two, you must reject the wish. And Wonder Woman and Barbara, they technically don't want to. They don't want to reject their wishes. Sorry for the car. Because Diana doesn't want to be separated from her lover again. Even though I've been saying that this is very un-Wonder Woman, but I'll leave it at debate. I don't want to go into too much comics, because I'm not exactly an expert on Wonder Woman lore. But Barbara is like, I don't want to go to the life of a loser. And then we continue with having Max Lord wishing everyone's wishes, improving kind of like his company, and it brings kind of like total chaos outside. People protesting against the nukes and everything, and until, of course, he's apparently, I don't know how this Wishmaster thing goes. Apparently, when you do wishes, he's like, hey, then whatever guy's life I ruin, or whatever nation I ruin, because then the others then began to follow me. Because I didn't get an ounce of seeing that he has the power of hypnosis or anything. This is what kind of dropped me a little bit out of the movie. But then he goes to the president, and the president wish is that I wanted to get all the nuclear weapons in the world. You got it. You're gonna get all the nuclear weapons in the world. Fire the torpedoes, everyone! You thought that there wasn't a Cold War in 1984. Well, it wasn't cold. It was hot, because they did launch the missiles. And of course, there are fight scenes in which, okay, they're flashy, I get it, even though they're not as remarkable as you can see. And then Barbara comes to protect Max Lord because she doesn't want her wish removed and everything. I gotta admit that she does get a good point, in which saying that she basically lost, in which they're saying that those wishes has a cost, but Barbara is like, no, what it costs you. If I go back, I'm gonna lose, the respect, the love, and the power that I've been having. But if you reject your wish, then you lose nothing. So yeah, she's gonna lose a lover, but basically it's kind of like it's kind of like making a kind of like overachieving woman look really, really good. Kind of remind me of someone that I don't want to name. And apparently then the guy is like, I need to grant more wishes, I need more people. How do I do this? Oh, we're gonna use this satellite, but this is kind of like top secret project. Brilliant. I'm gonna go into apparently Area 52 and go there. And then of course Wonder Woman gets, his dilemma that I'm not gonna reveal too much. But still, the whole world goes into big chaos when the guy begins to broadcast his own thing, saying, "Everybody, grant wishes," and everyone like, "Oh, I wish I could get famous. Ah, I wish you could drop dead." It's chaos, amazing chaos, and the guy is kind of loving it, and without knowing that his son. He's like, "No, Daddy, I wish you, I wish you, I wish you," and the boy is almost gonna get trampled and everything. And of course, then out of kind of like a weak setup, Wonder Woman. This is where she gets this armor that, and my first glance, I thought that was the armor of Hawkgirl, but no, it's a Wonder Woman armor that. It makes her look like she's wearing the Sagittarius clothes from Saint Seiya. And then we get the fight of Barbara and Diana versus Barbara. Wonder Woman versus Cheetah. But at this moment, here's one thing that happened. Barbara is kind of now acknowledging that she doesn't want to return to be the loser. She wants that power for herself. And she becomes loyal to Max Lord, and she's like, I don't want to be human again, or something like that. And then the next time Wonder Woman meets Barbara, she's now turning to Cheetah, and guess what? It comes out of nowhere because there was kind of like a missing scene. You missed an opportunity to have her kind of like a transformation scene. We didn't get that. What happened? Oh, and beside all, it's not a good CGI. It doesn't look good. But I can forgive it because last year I saw Cat, and and honestly, at least that Cat CGI looks better than the one from Cats. Okay, to go quick. Battle happens, she loses, and then Wonder Woman goes to see Max Lord go to acting overdrive. I got the power, no, everybody's gonna respect me. But then Wonder Woman like, no, I'm gonna talk to everyone. I'm gonna say that you have to be true to yourself because you were lying to your son to look good and everything. So she basically bring out world peace for some reason. In which everyone's like, no, I'm gonna reject my wish, I'm gonna reject my wish. And the Max Lord kind of begin to see his childhood, which I wish I could have seen this childhood, earlier. And he was like, no, my son is in danger. Remember that I said that I wanted a character to die? And that is a child. I'm gonna sound awful, I know, but I think the movie could have been stronger if this guy, who was a piece of shit, even a piece of shit to his son, he could deal with a big consequence, and that is the death of a child, his child. That could make the movie not only kind of like stronger, but also tragic. Although, because this guy, when he finally gets off of his evil face and his bad acting, it has the emotion. But can you forgive kind of like the guy who almost caused nuclear war because of his greediness? And of course the missile kind of like, they're just gone out of space. And then months later, apparently this is where the movie kind of stopped filming because, well, the movie kind of takes place during the summer. Then the final minutes takes place on Christmas. You can tell this is why they decided to add this scene for the Christmas season. Oh my god. And by the way, but in my head, it was like, okay, does anyone remember that there was almost a world crisis? I mean, I know that for some reason, Wonder Woman is like, she tells all the kids, hey, you saw me, don't tell anyone. Did she do that to all the people in the world? Does she have, you know, the neuralizer from the Men in Black? Because it's gonna take more than just Christmas to forget this crazy thing. Even my parents will tell me that, hey Daniel, when you were born, shit happened. Do you know that? Oh yeah, and then mid-credit scene we get a Linda Carson cameo for another character, Wonder Woman. And then, spoilers out. So overall, do I hated Wonder Woman 1984? Honestly, not really. It kind of had almost like the opposite effect of Wonder Woman, the other Wonder Woman, in which the first one was technically all good, but with an awful third act, or, well, okay, not awful, unremarkable third act. This one kind of felt like an unremarkable whole movie, but the third act feels better if compared to the other one. Mostly because they tried to push a little bit more on the emotions and everything. But of course, there is this lousy scene that happened with the CGI or anything. Some of the characters come and go. Some of the humors are inconsistent. There are scenes that are missing. I didn't give it too much seriousness compared to other movies. I can't say that it's one of the best or even one of the worst. I'm mostly very, very neutral. And maybe I can forgive it a little bit, quote unquote, because this is not one of those movies that was affected by the pandemic. But still, I'm not saying that's no excuse. That's no excuse for that. Because during that whole time, I think this could have been revised a little bit more, and kind of arguing, saying that if this is a good idea or this is a bad idea. Here's my thing. I think they should have centered a little bit more on setting the rivalry between Wonder Woman and Cheetah. And in order to, because I think that could make a little bit of sense, especially from the prologue, and because I know that they wanted to tell that, you know, you have to be truthful to yourself to tell the truth and all that. But this only comes a little bit when with the theme, because this Max Lord technically is lying to his child, that's saying that, yeah, everything is fine, your dad is great, I'm not a loser, that guy is, almost in front of him. Because here's the thing, this kind of acting, you know, about lying to your child, it kind of reminded me of why I hate this movie called Life is Beautiful, or A Beautiful Life, or La Vida es Bella. It's the one with Roberto Benigni. Funnily enough, I want to tell you that I always clash with my mother saying that because she loves the movie, but I hate the movie, especially because I'm very much in disagreement with what the character does to his child, in which he basically is lying to his child, saying that everything's wonderful, even if we are in the concentration camp, we're gonna hide you from everything. For me, that's lying to your child, even for the benefit of keeping his innocence, is horrible. It's a horrible act. And you know what? I don't think this is a good place to make a debate out of it, because I would like to hear a debate, but this is not the time. Maybe some other time, or if you feel free, you can tell why you think it is good to lie to your child. But this is something that the Max Lord scene reminded me. But either way, they should have picked either one or the other, or else they're gonna cram a little bit too much. Uh, with the Chris Pine character, ironically, it's kind of like the best scenes, mostly because you do buy the chemistry between these characters. And so on, so on. The biggest thing that I only knew that some of the things were done kind of rushed or in last minute is mostly because of the Christmas ending that it gives you. So I'll say that it's kind of like a light recommendation if you like the Wonder Woman film. If you like it, it's fine by me. If you hate it, fine by me. I understand both. I understand both ways. But for me, it wasn't wonderful enough. I'm just neutral to Wonder Woman 1984. I mean, seriously. Did this crazy thing happen while I was a baby?